Oh, hello everybody. This is Benjamín once again on Monday, December 28th, 2020. Wow, we're almost getting closer to the end of this year, and I'm so excited to be live today to talk about an awesome topic that I believe, out of all the topics I've talked about, we talked about with my guest. This one's very different. This one means so many things to me, and I hope it's very powerful. I have a great guest today, and yeah, this topic, like I said, it means a lot. So, but once again, I think as I reflect on this year, this semester, and this platform, it's been such a humbling and a great experience, being able to utilize Instagram in a different way, not just how we normally use it, but in a more educational, informational, and transformative way to provide a message to those out there who may, you never know, may inspire. Who knows who's watching? Who knows who's listening? And I think that's super powerful. So again, today's topic is Latino Men Traumas, and I have my good friend who I just saw just came in live. So let me go ahead and invite him, and let's start the show on the road. Let's get the show on the road. Let's see, where are you? Here you are. All right, so the invite has been sent. Let's see once he joins. Hey,
Hey,
Gabriel, how's it going?
good.
Well, this is Gabriel, my great friend, my colleague, Gabriel Rodriguez Lemos Jr. I know Gabriel from San Jose State University. I would say we've known each other for 7 to 8 years. Back in 2012, when I was a graduate intern at the Student Involvement Office. Somehow Gabriel and I, it took a while, but we got to email each other because of this shared ideology of trying to make a change in the Latinx community at San Jose State University, and the student leadership, I would say, student organizations. And him and I co-started this organization called Gente Unida, which was, I think I mentioned a little bit about it in the previous live. But Gabriel is an awesome person, and I couldn't be much more happier to invite you, Gabriel, to talk about this specific topic, because I know it is something that you're very passionate about, and a great way to end this season, first season, episode 10 of Find Your Purpose. So thank you once again, Gabriel, and let's go ahead and let you yourself. I would say you would do a much better job than I would do, because you've done so many things. You've been all over the place. So yeah, so Gabriel, so we can start. Where are you from?
Yeah, so for everybody, my name is Gabriel. My pronouns are he, him, his, and elle. I currently reside in Austin. And the funny thing is that I met Benjamin when he was working at student involvement. And then I'm the one who ended up doing student affairs. And then I'm the one who ended up getting a master's in higher education and student affairs. So I think it's very interesting how the world works and how things work out. Um, so I just wanted to say that before I answer the question. So I was born and raised in Fresno, California, which is in the Central Valley. So if you were to cut California in half, like we would pretty much be in the middle of both San Francisco and LA. We're our own thing. We don't have a beach. We don't have very California-like things. So being from Fresno is a very specific experience.
Um, Thank you for sharing, Gabriel. And so yes, we met at San Jose State University. You were doing your undergraduate um, education there. And what has happened with you? Like, where have you? You said you did your master's. Where did you do your master's? And you're in Austin. Why are you in Austin?
Yeah, yeah. So I started my bachelor's at San Jose State University in 2009. I did not know what I was really doing. Changed my major three times and ended up doing sociology with a concentration in community change, and graduated in May of 2015. And that experience has always been very amazing for me. And I still keep in contact with a lot of my professors who I met in the sociology program, and we still like keep in contact. Like they all know where I'm currently at and what I'm currently doing and the experiences that I've had since I've left. And I took a break for 3 years. I did some college advising for different universities. I substitute taught. I worked with foster youth. I worked with migrant students. And then I also did a lot of little random things here and there. And then ultimately, I decided to attend Indiana University to pursue my master's in higher education and student affairs. So I was doing that for the last 2 years, living in Indianapolis, commuting to Bloomington, and graduated this May. So I just got my master's in May. I finished in the middle of a pandemic. We were told in March, like, hey, like, you're not going to come back to campus. Like, you're not going to see your professors. You're not going to see your classmates. Like, it's a wrap. Like, we're done. And you need a, like, you're not going to have a graduation. And so to this day, like, I didn't personally get to say goodbye to most of my cohort mates. I didn't get to personally say goodbye to my professors. I've actually never seen my diploma still, like, physically. I know it exists. I actually haven't seen it. And what that resulted in was right now where I'm at. So I'm at Austin and I'm pursuing my PhD in higher education leadership at the University of Texas at Austin. So so I'm at UT, and this is where I have been wanting to be for a very long time. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm here for the entirety of the holidays.
Wow, wow. Again, it's very inspiring, Gabriel. Everything that I've seen you do, I've seen as a, working with you on certain projects and just seeing you your masters and now in the PhD. It's again, it's very inspiring. You've inspired me. Like I said, I know that we've talked about my future goals and some stuff that I would like to do, hopefully starting 2021, which I don't want to mention just yet because I don't
Yes.
want to spoil it, right? I just but yeah, like it's very awesome for you to continue educate in the education field and your motivation and what you want to do. And for PhD, in the PhD, what is it that you're studying? Yeah, let's go with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, so I'm specifically in the College of Education in the Department of Educational Leadership and Policy, and my program is specifically the program in higher education leadership. So what that means broadly is understanding what the university is, the function of the university, what is the role of the university, and also who are the people that work in it. So all of the things that play into what a university is, like there's people running it, there's a president, there's a provost who understands academics. There's somebody who's running everything that has to do with student affairs. So anything that has to do with any student activities, with mental health, with anything that you could think of that is non-academic related, somebody is doing that on campus. So what our job as higher education scholars is to understand why higher education is important. What is the function of higher education and why it continues to be something that we need to study for the success of our country and the success of students. And I think somebody very quickly, I could see why they asked me why I decided to leave and go far away to do grad school. And I think a lot about, uh, I always had wanted to live in a different state, and I really didn't know how I was going to do that. So then I aligned going to grad school and being able to live in different places. So I always wanted to live in Austin. So I tried to figure out how to get here. And UT was also a place I wanted to be at, so it worked out. And I also wanted to have a variety of experiences because ultimately I want to go back to California, and I want to be like, these are the things that worked in other states. These are the things that definitely did not work. Let's never do this. And, and I think like it was a lot about trying to understand the variety of experiences that exist outside of just California, because Latinx people exist outside of California. I hope everybody knows that. We exist outside of LA. We exist outside of California. Like, we are everywhere. So I feel like I also wanted to demystify that and what that meant.
Awesome. Thank you for answering the question from I think it's Chris. So thank you so much. I was gonna ask you too. I was like, should I ask him at the end? Should I ask him right now? But thank you for answering that. And your focus in the PhD program you mentioned is the structures and the systems, and you also have a focus on Latino men, right? What is
Yes.
that focus?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do with my work, and specifically my PhD, which is really about my research and trying to understand my identity as a scholar, as a researcher, what I'm going to be producing once I'm done, is I'm really trying to understand the complexities of how do we understand how Latino men come to understand their masculinity, how Latino men come to understand what it means to be a Latino man, and specifically, like how Latino men understand what it means to be them if they're queer, if they have a disability, if they have other intersectional identities outside of just being a Latino man. So the complexity that hasn't really been able to be given currently in the current literature is what I'm really trying to explore. So what is it that really makes us, and how can universities, how can the K through 12 system support us in order to be successful? How could they recruit us, retain us, and then help us to be successful afterwards?
So awesome, so awesome. That's exactly why we are here today, Gabriel, because I think one of those topics is trauma. And I think we're here today to speak on that for sure. To just I know we might not be the full experts at the moment how we would want to, but that's why you're doing the PhD, and that's why my plans for 2021, and we can hopefully continue to collaborate as we started in 2012, as we're doing today, as we can do para siempre, no? So the Latino Men Traumas. I think we can go ahead and jump into the conversation. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, so like trauma. Like, can you tell me a little bit more? Like, what does it mean to have like what is trauma?
Yeah, I think that it's experiences, for specifically trauma in terms of education, it's experiences that have scarred us in the way that we see how education treats us. It scars us in the way that education is for us. It scars us in the way that our peers, that our professors, that our teachers treat us. So I think ultimately what it leads is to an experience that says Latino men do not belong in education. Not only do they not belong in the university, they don't belong in education at all. So I think it is important to understand the current literature, and I think that I'm going to get into my very academic self and my very, like, what my friends would call, oh, he's going to get into his professor mode, right? I think I think really what this is about is trying to rethink and reconceptualize and reframe how we have studied and how we have understood the experiences of Latino men, which have very much framed Latino men in a deficit model. Latino men are deficit because X. They don't know how to do X. They don't know how to do Z. They don't know how to do Y. They are this, and because of this, they are incompatible to be taught. And what this leads is to statistics and to all of these things that then like align with those messages that say Latino men do not belong here, that say Latino men graduate at very low levels, that say Latino men are pushed out. And then when we get here, when we actually get to the university, then what happens is that we don't graduate.
Mhm.
So I think that all of these things are layered in the way that we've experienced education. Not only have we experienced the trauma from the world and how we have to live with that reality of how the world treats us, but then when we come into educational spaces, then it's an added layer of trauma that we have to go through while we're here, and for instance, how our teachers might not see the benefit of giving us more time than another student. And I think this is you could look up most work and see how this is very much the case.
It's because when we talk about trauma, like there's so many things, no, so many things, especially for a Latino male in the United States. You know, we, for the most of us, we have family who came from another country, so now we have to experience this whole like two culture, right? What am I part of? And like if you are the first born male in your family, these whole family expectations, no, and then like let's say you're in a born in Fresno or in Salinas or in San Jose, the East Side, all these like things that we have to experience culturally, unfortunately, sometimes. Um, the discrimination, there's like the gangs, there's like all these, again, like the family expectations and like all these things that are placed on us that sometimes it comes from our parents, like the traumas from our parents. I think it's called generational trauma. Do you feel like that also has a big influence on Latino men as they're growing up?
Yeah, I think that, for instance, in my own personal experience, right? Because I think what we have to understand that we ourselves are talking about a topic that we've personally had to live. We are two Latino men who had to navigate academia. So I think also what I want to do as I continue to do research is to even rethink why we think somebody is an expert and somebody is not. You could be a person who studies Latino men your whole life and not be a Latino man, and you will never understand that experience. So you could do all the research you want, and you still might not get it, and you still might get things wrong. So
Yeah.
I think I want to also clarify that and demystify what it means to be an expert, because the voice of the community is the community and never the researcher. And I think that that's something that we all need to always be mindful of. And and I think, yeah, it totally comes from our parents. It totally is. I have never, and I was talking to you about this the other day. I go to a family party. I am not allowed to get my own food. I am not allowed to serve people. I am not allowed to be in the kitchen and try to cook. Like, those are things that I'm not allowed to do. Like, what I'm allowed to do is like sit down and be served, right? And uh, some of my friends like kind of joke at this, and I'm like, yeah, but this is going to be our reality.
Mm.
The whole, like, the our parents are not going to change.
Yeah.
But what we could do is we could change. What we could do is we could acknowledge that those things aren't going to change, but we could change instead.
Mm.
So instead of believing or falling in to what we think we have to do, it's about us choosing what we want to do. So I think it really is about, there is a narrative placed on us of who we need to be and who we should become. Should we follow that narrative? Do we want to be in that narrative? Is that something for us? And I think that's something for all of us to think about. And I think that's something for all of us to consider and think about. And I think one thing that I want to go into, because I could see the comments as this is going on,
Yeah.
one thing that I want to think about, for instance, is lots of research has centered this idea that, for instance, Latino men go to community colleges because they don't care about education and because they want fast money, right? This is the thing that has been said many times by some people, I would say, and literature and publications have said these things. And I did a small study at the University of Arizona one summer and really found that that was not the case. Lots of the Latino men were staying in community college because they had to do lots of things for their families. They had to take care of their younger siblings. They had to take care of their parents. They had to work and provide income. Like, they weren't going to community college because they wanted the fast route. They were going to community college because their values were different. Their values centered their family and their role in their family rather than the role of prestige, rather than the role of the university. And I think that this leads to a great point of the university and our values don't align. They make us leave our families. Even me, for instance, I live miles away from my family, and I'm very close to them. So the university is incongruent with our values. And I think that as long as we see the university as this thing that doesn't have values and Latino men as defective, and that's why we can't belong, then we're going to continue to be a problem.
Mm.
When we see that we are not the problem, it's the university who doesn't know how to understand us, then that is where we need to go. Then that is what we need to understand. That the onus needs to be on the university and not us.
Yeah, you mentioned a key word, provide. This idea of, growing up, I would see, and I know times have changed now. Like when my parents were probably growing up, it's probably like women couldn't even work, vote, and all the other stuff. And I think now in some households that might still be the case, but I know that the idea of providing
Yes.
is something that I saw. Oh, my dad, he might not be able to show feelings. He might not be able to tell me, hey, I love you. He might not do this, this, and this. That have also affected me, right, growing up. But this idea of provide has
Yes.
been seared in my mind. Like I have to be a provider. I have to be this figure of like can't show pain. I can't show vulnerability because I have to be this strong person
Yes.
of providing. I can't be vulnerable. And it's definitely affected me for sure. And I know we can touch on our experiences and stuff, but when we talk about higher education and being a provider or being this person that, again, we were kind of like taught to be, or at least I was taught to be, what do you think? Like, do you think in a higher ed we can't find those supports? But do you feel like Latino men know how to ask for the help? Do you
Yeah.
think that they show that vulnerability to others who they might not know? Like, imagine yourself going into an academic advising office. Do you feel like Latino men might is there trauma that affects them from asking for that help? What do you think on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. I think like there's a couple concepts that I want to go through in terms of talking through this. And the first one being is I think we really have to give props to our parents, right? Who, for many of our parents, they left countries and moved to a place that they had no idea about. They had no idea how to speak this language that I know how to speak and that I'm talking right now. And I think that we have to give them a lot more
Credit.
value. And one of those things in value is, I think for our fathers, for instance, we have to also understand that love for them is that, because that's what their fathers taught them. Their fathers taught them that this is what love is, right? So love is providing for your family, nothing else. So when your father teaches you that, and then you become a father, then that is what you do. You show your family love by providing for them. And that is not a bad thing. And I think that for us, for our generation, it's about giving up the idea that love has to come in the way that we want, right? And I think that that's what it is about trauma and about changing generations, is that wanting what we want is having to break something. And that break is going to be hard. And that break is also going to be something that makes no sense to our parents. Like, what do you mean you don't want to provide? What do you mean you don't care about XYZ, right? And they're not going to get it. And just like we don't get why they don't understand that providing is not love, we don't get why they don't get us and why we want to do these things. So I think that that's okay. And I don't think there's a bad thing in our fathers not knowing how to show us the love that we want. I think that's an okay thing. And I think that as I grow older, I want to write more about how I'm okay with my father not knowing how to do that, right? And I think this is very important for me as a person who navigates academia, as a very family oriented person, that I dedicate lots of these things to my father and lots of these things to my grandfathers who I never got to meet because they both died before I was born. So the concept of father for me is also something that I've had to even rethink about myself. So I think like before I could even talk about, education, it's about us and that we're going through these things. And I think an important thing to think about also is we don't come to university a blank slate to be saved. We come to the university with very specific experiences such as what things that you have mentioned. It was not a thing that you would want to do. You never would want to show somebody that you don't know what you're doing. You know, you get asked to do something, and our fathers would teach us, how do you want it? Instead of saying that I don't know how to do it, it's like, how do you want me to do it? Not really telling people that they didn't know how to do it. So I think that this concept of help-seeking behaviors, right, is what they call it in the literature, is something that we are coming to the university with our lived experience. That is not going to change. What needs to change is the university. What needs to change is how the administrators respond to us not having that capital of asking for help. What needs to change is counselors not knowing. What needs to change is having counselors know that we might not want to ask for help and them having to probe us to get help, right? That is what needs to change. That's how we're going to change the university. We're going to change it by changing it. I don't want us to change. We shouldn't have to change. I don't want to change, right? My name is Gabriel. I am not changing for the university.
Yes.
My values are not going to change. I'm not going to leave my family at the door and become you, right? Which is what it wants.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. I think I mentioned in a post I had or whatnot, like I'm not saying everybody right in university, but like as a whole, they just we're just another staff. No, it's just another person. Um, but they don't understand us as people, and I think that's what you're saying. Like what I'm Benjamín Gabriel. Please say my name correct. No, and
Yep.
like it's I come from this, and I experience these things.
Yes.
I come with my traumas as well. We're in San Jose State. There was only one class. I will tell you this. I will have to admit, there was one class in the Mexican American Studies department, Chicana Studies now, department, where Professor Pizarro, shout out to him and to Mario Osuna, two Latino men in a class talking about trauma. And that class, like I said, I've took me 7 years to do my undergraduate. But that class, I will tell you, I didn't do anything, read nothing. Well, yeah, we had to read a book, but I mean, I read it. But we had to write about our lives, my life. I had to talk about my life, like things that affected me, my baggage, my traumas. I would say, growing up, I had a very interesting relationship with my father, as I mentioned. I don't. At times, I feared him. At times, I hated him. At times, I didn't want to be like him. But that class made me realize something you mentioned earlier. I understood him. I forgave him. And then I ended up, you know what? I love him, you know? And it's really hard. Like when we talk about traumas, that's something that I think it's not a thing that happens. Like I can't sit there, even today, like something that I wish I could do, sit there with my father, because I know he has traumas for sure. My brother has traumas. I have my own traumas, even today. Like I didn't understand that, like things that I experienced as a child, things that I experienced in my middle school, high school, rebelde eras, that would affect me in my relationships, in my education, at work, as a man, as a person. who knows in the future as a father, no? And I think these things, it's important for people like you and I for more to continue this conversation, to normalize this conversation of trauma, of like being vulnerable, of having feelings. You know, like it's okay. I have feelings. You know, like I don't. It's okay for men to Latino men to not just show the emotion of anger. Oh, I'm pissed off. Oh, I'm scared. No, it's okay for us to show every type of emotion because we do feel them. You know, it's okay not to hide them. So that class, like I said, shouting out to that class. It was the only class where I felt like I was actually understood as a person, and I was pushed as a male, as a Latino man, la male. Any other class, it was just like any other class. So advisors asking for help, I really felt very uncomfortable to ask for help, to show like, oh, like I need support. It was really hard for me to do those things. And if I had that skill or that feel comfortable to do that, who knows, right? Who knows what would happen? But it's like you said, those help seeking behaviors is huge. It's very huge, especially in the academia world for students or like us.
Look, I am a higher education scholar to re-envision what it means to be at a university. Imagínate that you go to a college advising session, that you meet with your advisor. The first thing they ask you is, what is your name? Right? Instead of assuming what your name is, or asking you how you pronounce your name instead of just assuming things. And then going through a list of things such as, hey, have you learned how to ask for help before? Hey, what are your experiences with authority? Hey, what are your experiences with how you navigated the K through 12 system? Hey, what are your like the way that it works, it doesn't have to work like that, right? So I think for us, it's about us having the imagination to recreate something, to redo something. And if we need to tear it apart and rebuild it, then let's do that.
Mm.
But we need to have a commitment to the fact that this is not working. The university was not built for us. We have already said that.
Mm.
We know that. We know it wasn't built for us. That's already the case. So now what are we going to do about it? I already know it wasn't built for me, pero ¿qué voy a hacer? What's left? What am I going to do? What am I going to do now that I know that it's not built for me? And that's what I'm here to do, right? That's what I'm here to do with my colleagues. That's what I'm here to do with my research is now that we know it wasn't built for me, ¿qué voy a hacer? What am I going to do to change it? What am I going to do so that people don't have to do undergrad in 6 years, in 7 years, when it should be done in 4 years, right? What do people have to do so that they have the right advising so that I didn't wait 3 years to start my master's because I didn't know anything about master's programs, you know? So like how do we envision that support? How do we envision a support that understands that we come with very specific experiences that are not deficit? They're just an experience, a specific experience that has to do with things that we have no control of. We have no control of our fathers. We have no control of what they taught us. We have no control of what our families taught us. And we actually don't want to have control. I love my family. I am my family. You know, my familia is me and I am my family, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't want to change that. So now that I know that, how is the university going to support me and my family? Because I am not just me, right?
Yeah.
And we know these things. We know it's not working. Now let's change it. Now let's mix it up. Now let's rebuild it. And again, if we got to dismantle it and rebuild a whole new thing, then let's do it. But let's commit, right? And it's about commitment. And I think for me, it's about I'm committing. I'm committing to being in a PhD. I committed to getting my master's. I've committed 10 years to education, right? I started in 2009 as an undergrad. I have almost 10 years now of a commitment to education. So now it's what are we going to do? We know the problems. We know they exist. I don't need more problems. Another article about how I don't know how to be successful. I already know that.
Yeah.
Already. We all know that.
You mentioned beginning.
right? Like I need joy. I
Yeah,
need how we're gonna get things to work. I need how my family is gonna be brought here. I
yeah.
need to see myself here. I don't need any of that other stuff that already happened. That's done. I'm done with that. You know, that's not my life.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier in the beginning how some of the literature that's already out there, it may not be written by Latinx folks. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
and I think we need definitely more of that. That as well, people who understands, who may have experienced it, who have seen it, or are just part of the culture. And yeah, so we definitely need that in. All right, so I would like to transition to the next piece, which would be, we have Latino men trauma, but
Yes.
we're Latino men.
Yes.
That's
Of
a very
course.
important one as well to touch on.
Yeah. So, so I think I want to preface with why I'm at UT. And I think that my journey to UT started in 2016 when I was at the University of Arizona and I came upon this book. And I have it right here. So I
Nice.
came upon this book, Ensuring the Success of Latino Males in Higher Education, a National Imperative, edited by Dr. Victor Sainz, Dr. Liz Juan, and Dr. Julie Lopez Figueroa. So I came upon this book in 2016. It had just come out. And I saw the back and was like, hey, these people are in Texas. And specifically, one is at UT Austin. I need to be there. I am going to be there. This is going to happen. Somehow I'm going to be there, right? Like somehow this is going to happen. And shout out to this book. And if anybody wants a copy, I have an extra, so I could send that to you. Just let me know. Um, but shout out to this book, right? Who inspired my journey here. And also, like, guess what, right? Like now, Dr. Victor Sainz is my advisor. And
Hey,
I am at UT and I work for Project Males, who established most of the work in this book. And now I am actually doing these things. And now I am actually specifically, almost exclusively doing research on Latino men. So I think for me, my journey has been I needed to see myself written. I needed to see myself here. I needed to see myself at a university. I needed to have an advisor who looked like me, who had my identities, who understood my experience, who would be like, yes, I get it. Your family is important. The university is not just you. I get it. And you know, and I fought my way here. And in 2016, I told myself, I'm gonna go to UT. And 4 years later, I am here, right? I planned and I planned and I planned and I am here doing exactly what I said I was going to do, working with the exact people I said I was going to work with. And the original people that I cited in my original study, I am now directly working with, right? So that for me is very important. And something that I want to say is I want to write the next
man.
Ensuring Success.
Yes, yes.
This is my goal.
You
My
will.
goal is to write the next decade of research for Latinx masculinities. This is my goal. This is what I came here to do.
Mm.
My goal is to write the next book on Latino men and higher education, right? That is what my dissertation is going to focus on. That is what I'm trying to do. And specifically centered on the experiences of queer and trans Latinx men, right? So now the burgeoning research, and now that we're here, and now that my advisor, and thank you to Dr. Sainz for all the work that he does and everything that he's been able to do, now it's our turn as queer people to be like, thank you for giving us the space. Now it is our time to write ourselves into existence,
Yes.
right?
Mm.
Now it is our time to talk about our experiences. And now it is our time to have you be accountable to you being our bullies, to you being a part of our trauma, to growing up in Fresno. most of the people who were my bullies were other Latino men, because
Mm,
Fresno is a majority Latino city, a majority Latinx city. So who were my bullies? Who were my torturers? Who were the people that made me hate education? Other Latino men.
mm.
Me, this is a full circle moment of forgiveness. This is a full circle moment of understanding. There's a full circle moment of this is my time.
Yeah,
It's our time.
it
We've
is.
been ignored. We were ignored in the Chicano movement with the no.
Mm.
We were ignored after that. We continue to be ignored. That could no longer happen. We are not going to let it happen. And now that I have become a part of that less than 1% of Latinx people getting a PhD, I'm here to tell you that we are not going to let it happen. Right? That
Yeah,
accountability,
yeah, and I know you
that,
will. I know you will. Know you again so long. It's again like I know that you will, and who knows? Hopefully one day, like I said, we're collaborating right now, and I hope, I know we will. Let's just say we will, not hope. We will. Like trying to take a little bit of how you tackle things. Like we will collaborate for sure in the future, whether it's that book or something different, but very relatable to what we're talking about today. Because your experience, tell me your experience as a queer Latino male in a
yeah,
university. How was
yeah.
it?
And I think that this comes into something that I love to talk about, which is my personal journey through education. And I think automatically, and I think some people who are watching this know and might laugh as I talk through this story. When people meet me, automatically they just assume that I have gone to the best schools and that I've gotten the best education and that I'm a straight A student and that I've never had any trouble with my education ever, right? That I just started and like I did my 4 years in my BA and like I just like like was like, oh, that's done, and then started my master's, and then was like, oh, that's done, and then just happened to roll into my PhD.
Yeah, that things don't affect you. That
Yeah,
you know.
and let me tell you right now, people, that is not the case. That has never been the case. Never been the case. I have never been a straight A student since I was like 13, right? I have not gone to the best schools. I San Jose State is located next to Stanford and Berkeley. So let me tell you, when we tell people that we go to San Jose State, they're like, oh, just like that. Oh,
Mm,
right? Like expecting like Berkeley or expecting Stanford, or even expecting UC Davis because you might be visiting, right? You might be like in the San Jose area and you're visiting.
yeah.
And I didn't go to the best schools. And when I was an undergrad, it took me 6 years to graduate. 6. And that is because I took a year off. I failed classes. I got F's. I got incompletes. But guess what I did? I didn't give up. I said I didn't care. I tried again. I redid it. I reworked my plan. I figured out another way. And in 6 years, I learned so much. And San Jose State is forever important in my life. I gave my life to that university. And in those 6 years, nothing was easy. Nothing. I could tell you of days I called my friends and was like, I'm a dropout. And they know. Or I went to their houses crying and I was like, I'm a dropout.
Mm,
And they were like, no, you're not. And I was like, I'm a dropout. And the year that I was gone, I really felt like I was never going to come back. Right? And I'm gonna be very honest with everybody because I'm very honest about this. My sophomore year, I had a manic episode and ended up in a hospital. and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So in the middle of my university experience, I had to withdraw for a year because I had to regain consciousness, literally regain consciousness, and re-understand how to live in this world that we call modernity, and go back to school somehow after that. And I did 3 semesters part-time until my last semester when I finally did full-time and graduated. When you tell me that I'm a straight A student, when you tell me that I went to a good school, whatever that means, when you tell me that I've had it easy, you erase all of that. You take away that from me. So don't take that away from me. Don't assume things about me. Because my life has not been easy. I make it look easy. I'm good at that. That's because I don't show you everything I have to do. That's for me to know.
Yeah.
Right? And the 3 years I was out of, and when I graduated my undergrad and spent 3 years like in the abyss, like trying to figure out how to get back to school, and I knew I wanted to, and I didn't know what I wanted to study because nobody had really guided me. Nobody had really told me what it is I wanted to do. Nobody had told me like higher education is a thing. Nobody told me that these things existed. And I had to find them, and I had to stumble upon them, and I had to seek it out, and I had to do all of this work that other people that I met in my cohort were like, yeah, I graduated college in 3 years, and my advisor told me about this master's, and I did it, and I applied, and I got in. And I'm 22, and I'm doing my master's.
Yeah.
I was 27 when I started. I'm 30 now. I look young, but I'm 30, right?
Yes, you do.
Like, and Indiana was, again, another very intense experience. That was the first time that I had not seen my family for a period longer than a month at a time. And I was already 27. So 27 years old, and it was the first time in my whole entire life that I had not seen my family longer than a month. It was a shock. So for me, it has been a fight to get here. It has been a claw to get here. It has been a mountain climb to get here. But best believe I'm here, and I'm not leaving. And nothing is going to make me leave. You are going to call me doctor after this.
Yes.
Everybody is going to call me doctor after this. So I am not giving up, no matter what happens, no matter what in the world happens, no matter what people try to do. And I've had many people try to take me down, and none of it will work. None of it will work. It will never work. Many people have tried, and let me tell you, they have failed. And they will continue to fail because it will not work. So please get ready for doctor. Please get ready to call me doctor. And I'll be there in 4 years.
Yes, you will. And Gabriel, yeah, I know. I mean, so many things in my mind right now, but I think that it's very powerful. Like I mentioned, hearing your story, and every time I hear a little bit of your story, sometimes when I've attended those Zoom celebrations of you, graduations, had to do this year, hearing it from other people, what they think and seeing that part of your life that they've presenced. It's very powerful, and it's very inspiring for me. And I know I hardly tell you that, right? But I, like, on this wall that we see here, like Gabriel is like right. We'll probably zoom in and show what's behind me, but Gabriel is like right there. This right here, you gave that to me for my, I think it was my birthday. And so like it's super powerful, super awesome to see that. And you mentioned one thing that I would like to touch on. That's kind of like a way to kind of wrap the conversation. I know we've been here for like 40 minutes, I would say. No more. I think we're going to get kicked out pretty soon by Instagram. I think allow 55 minutes or whatnot. So to wrap this up, you mentioned Latino, your experience, a lot of the trauma you have was made by other Latino men.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. I think that the reason that Latinx education, that Chicanx education, that the understanding of what it means to be in education as a racialized person, as an ethnicized person specifically, because of the understanding that Latinx is an ethnicity rather than a race, is my commitment to that is because my audience and who I'm trying to reach is other Latinx people. Who I'm trying to bring along with my research is other Chicanx people. They're the people, they're my audience. They're who I'm speaking to. They're who I wish picks up that article and is like, I've been doing this and I should stop. They're the ones who should pick up that book and read it and be like, I understand. And I was an asshole and now I should stop.
Yes.
And it's a very calling in instead of a calling out experience. And I think for me, it's really about creating a type of trance experience. Trance, right? Like you're in a trance. It's a very creating a type of trance experience for other Chicanx, Latinx identified individuals who want to understand education and specifically the experiences of queer and trans people, or specifically the experiences of people with disabilities. And I think I want them to understand that we are also the community. Like I am Latinx and I am queer. And how I've had to live my life is that I've always had to keep them separate. I've always had to be the Latinx person that was too queer, and then I've always had to be the queer person who was too Latinx. So my job and my work is really about how do I trans people into believing in my existence as one person that is both queer and Latinx all the time. Not just once or twice, all the time, all the time. I don't walk into a room and say, I'm queer today. I only like men, and I'm going to talk about the fact that I want a man with botas in Texas. Like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna walk into a Latinx room and be like, man, my mom is sending me tamales today and I'm like very excited. No, I'm gonna talk about how I'm eating tamales and seeking out a boyfriend who wears botas. Like at the same time, those are like, I'm both of those things all the time, consistently, forever. And I think the reason that my work is important to me is that my whole entire university experience was I always had to choose. As the co-chair of MECHA, I had to choose. As the co-chair of queer organizations, I had to choose. When I was at queer retreats, I had to choose. When I was at Latinx retreats, I had to choose. And I'm done with choosing. I'm done with explanations. I'm ready for everybody to be ready for us. That's what I'm ready for.
Yeah.
So that's what I want to trans people in. That we are one whole person. We're not a fragmented thing.
Yes. All the identities, which could be another conversation you and I can have in a future life. The identities that all the different identities that we come in as a person. No, mas like you said, well, I'm just this person or that person. Like I'm many things, and everybody has different things that they identify as. And but once again, Gabriel, I know. Again, I don't know if we're gonna get kicked out of this or not, because I've been told that it's like 55 minutes or whatnot. But if we do, then I would like to say thank you so much for joining me in this last episode of Find Your Purpose. Is an awesome, so awesome to have you as a friend, as a colleague, as an amigo, as a brother, as todo, And thank you so much for being here. And I really wish you a really good end of 2020, which is like 3 more days, and be able to again, do something, taking this to the next level in 2021. Uh,
Yes.
thank you for your friendship. Thank you for the love, and te quiero mucho, hermano.
Yes, thank you. And I want to just give a shout out to my friend Carla Batres for making this Calvin making this art piece in the back by Ice. So I'm gonna get really political because you know the political is personal. Fuck ICE, defund ICE, get rid of ICE. This is in my background of all my talks. And I just want to say, if people didn't see that, I'm just letting you all know that right now that's where I stand. So yes, and thank you for everything. Gracias. I appreciate it. I appreciate the time, the energy, and I look forward to everything that will happen and that will continue to happen. And wishing you the best in the endeavors that you have not mentioned yet.
Yes, thank you so much, Gabriel, and see you soon. All right, thank you so much again. Once again, all these thank yous. No, it's so many thank yous, but thank you, Gabriel, once again for joining me in the ending of Find Your Purpose. It's so crazy. We're after 19 guests that have appeared in all these episodes. I could say that season one is over. Wow. Back in August when this was just like, oh, I'm gonna start this thing. It's super humbling to see that we're already here. And it's not a goodbye because I think, well, for sure, I know that next week I will be sharing what's to come for 2021. Definitely season two and more different little side projects here and there that are like a branch of this project. And yeah, I'm really thankful and humbled for this. It's a great way to complement all these projects that I have going on for 2021 and all these life-changing experiences that hopefully we'll be able to continue to nurture this. So have a safe end of 2020. 3 more days. Be safe, be with your families, whatever you can, and I hope to see, hope be able to collaborate with some of y'all in the future, and hopefully we can just do this in person. So thank you so much. Stay safe, and again next week on January, what is it? What is it? 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think it's 8. The first Friday of 2021, we'll be announcing what's to come. So stay tuned for that. Stay safe once again, and remember to find your purpose.